everybody. Welcome to This and That with Ryan and Maggie. I'm Ryan.
And I am Maggie. How is everybody doing on this beautiful Saturday?
Woohoo!
Normally we do our show on Fridays, but Ryan and I are so flexible and we both have kids, and sometimes things just don't work out. And
Yep, stuff
we made it
happens.
happen today. So, how is everybody doing? How are you, Ryan?
Been better.
Yeah,
The news and everything has had me emotionally drained, but other than that, stuff at home is good, so we can't complain about that.
that's
So,
all
how
that really.
about you?
Right. I'm doing good. My daughter had her first swim meet today,
Oh, that's right.
and they won. And she got second place in both of her events.
Nice.
And, I just love seeing the confidence build in her and how happy she is about, hey, everybody, and how happy she is, that she found her sport. So this is my first venture into Saturday morning wake up with children's sports events. So I was up bright and early at I woke up at 5
Ooh.
and, I got to take a little nap today. So I'm happy.
Well, yeah.
How how about life with you guys? Your family's good, you said?
Oh yeah, family's good. I talk about it every time because I think we're just excited, but we're going to Disneyland next month. So we're
Jelly.
we're literally counting down the days, and then really we just the kids are in summer now, so we've been hanging out at the pool and
Yeah.
trying to have fun, and I think we're going putt putting tomorrow. So
Fun.
yeah,
Yeah, I
trying to get out of the, it's hard. I've been so stuck in Twitter
oh yeah.
universe the last like week that
Yeah.
I'm really gonna try to unplug tomorrow.
That is awesome. I think I'm gonna do the same. And I'm thinking about taking my kids to see a movie in a
There you
movie
go.
theater since that we all just got over COVID. So I figured if this is the time that anyone's got immunity, I'll still have them wear their masks, but you know, we're probably more protected now than usual. So
Yeah,
might capitalize on that. I don't know. We'll see.
yeah.
I might just go with my husband. I want to see.
Might just go without them.
You know what? I have a 3-year-old, so she just turned 4 actually. So the idea of
Yeah,
taking her to a movie, I feel like she can handle it. But then I'll also, when we're like in the
yeah.
moment, I'll be like, this was a bad idea.
Really bad idea. Whose idea was this?
Mine. They're
Yeah.
usually, one of my favorite movies, Under the Tuscan Sun. One of the quotes is, "Terrible ideas. Don't you just love those?"
Yep.
Like, and I do. I am a sucker for terrible ideas. Always got to try it out.
So we didn't. Once again, we didn't prep anything because I think last week, and I know you don't go back and watch our videos, but I
No.
do. And last week I thought was really one of our best videos, just
Yeah.
because it was raw, it was honest, and but more so, I just like it wasn't prepared, and for
Yeah.
some reason, I think that's how we flow. So,
For
with
sure.
that said, is there anything on your mind yet or right now?
Well, unfortunately, since the last time we talked, we've had more mass shootings in this country. And, we kind of glossed over it last week. And I mentioned, seeing, Obi-Wan Kenobi doing a thing about math and saying that, these things happen every 6 days, right?
Yep.
Well, here we
Uh,
are right on schedule. And I think the thing that really hit home this week is that, you know, it's not just schools anymore. I mean, it never was, but
mm,
is anywhere safe?
no.
And you and I talked this week on the phone, and,
Yeah.
you know, we were talking about the safety that we feel being in our homes, right?
Yes.
And now I mean, like I even joke about it. I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about going to a movie. Even when I think about it, I'm like, that's probably not
Probably
something
not
I'm
gonna.
going to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
because the truth of the matter is that we go places and we look around and we think, oh, is this a place where this is going to happen now? You go to a grocery store. I mean, just in the last month, grocery store, funeral, hospital, school.
Yep.
Where
Okay.
where is safe, Ryan?
Well, we're not, and that's the kicker. Is that I think anybody who has been in a different country that maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago was less fortunate than us,
Yeah.
um, recognize a lot of what's going on here. And like we're literally like I know some people think I'm being like I'm exaggerating or whatever, but we're literally heading to being a third world country, and we have travel advisories.
Yeah.
Like there are countries, several, not just one or two. There are a lot of countries that have travel advisories to travel to the United States right now, specifically citing gun violence. So if that's not enough to tell you that there is a problem, because the rest of the world is looking at us and going,
Yeah, man.
don't go there, don't don't do that.
Yeah.
It's just you know, and I'm going to pivot a little bit to the next thing, which is the what was it? I want to make sure I get it hit the title right. I've been getting my ass dragged on lately. The police chief, the Uvalde School District Police Chief Arredondo, didn't have his radio on him during the massacre, basically. Now, I want to explain something to you guys. Not having a radio while an active shooter situation is going on so that you can hear everybody and everything going on, that does not replace somebody calling you and saying there's an active shooter. Like,
Absolutely.
that is a huge deal for a law enforcement officer to not have a radio and be able to hear what's happening real time. That is a problem. And the more that comes out about this, the worse it gets. Like this it's not a joke. And going back to what Maggie said, where are we safe? Nowhere. You talk about
Nowhere.
being a veteran, just like you said, you walk into a movie theater, Jen and I, we're like looking for the exits, where are we gonna go if shit goes down?
Yeah.
Like, we're looking for backpacks and shit sitting in stores, because it's like, damn, if a backpack's sitting in the car, I'm telling you, my wife, she's deployed 3 times. She will literally grab me by the freaking arm and be like, babe, there's a bag over there. Whose fucking bag is that?
For real.
And if you
Well,
think,
you're hyper trained to like notice these things.
we are.
But even as
Like,
a civilian, I'm with you.
well, but that's the point I'm trying to get to is we are trained that way. Like, we're
Yeah.
trained to be paranoid. We're trained to look for everything, and that kind of never goes away. But civilians are not supposed to be walking into movie theaters, restaurants, hospitals, schools, and going, where do I go if a shooter comes in?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
should not be happening in this country. Period. Period.
And yet here we are.
Yet
And
here we are.
I mean, and Ryan, I want to touch base on the fact that these last 3 shootings happened so close to Uvalde.
Two
Are
of
we
them
looking? What?
Well, I think 2 of them were on the same day.
Yes, there were 3. I think there were 3 going on at the same time. So
Yes,
there's
you're right,
there were
you're right.
more.
Yep.
Yeah, there were actually more than 3 this week. That's the thing. I mean, you can't even keep track anymore.
Can't.
But the thing is, are we hitting a point where it's like, oh, this is like such noteworthy news that we are giving these people their 15 minutes of fame and this is what's happening? I mean, we've always known, and people have been like, don't talk about the shooters, don't do this, don't do that. But how can it seems like it's giving people the ideas to do this. It's like a meme spreading, it's the idea of memetics. You put something out in the world and then people bring it in. And it feels like that for me, that it's just like the more that this happens, the more people are like, oh, you know what? That's a great idea. I see all the pain and suffering of the world and I'm going to go do the same thing. And I don't know what we can do about that. I don't know. Thoughts?
Well, I think a lot of it, of course, we focus a lot on legislating gun control, which I think is a huge, huge part of this puzzle. But also, what you're talking about is it is a mental health issue. There is definitely a mental health staple to this that we have to focus on.
Yeah.
And which is why a lot of us liberals, we keep using the talking point of, okay, you guys like to say it's the person, not the gun, but you guys don't want to fund universal health care and mental health treatment for the person.
Yeah.
So it's like, so you won't legislate and control the guns, and you won't help the people who own the guns. So give us the answer that you think will work, because everything that we as liberals and Democrats try to put on the table, you guys instantly say, well, you're going against my Second Amendment, but yet you have no solutions that you put forth. It's literally thoughts and prayers. And that's not a joke. That's all you guys do. Oh, my Ted Cruz, my wife and I feel so... Man, sit down and shut the fuck up. Are you kidding?
Oh yeah.
You,
Ted Cruz.
Kirsten Cinema, a bunch of you that posted about gun violence yesterday and wearing orange and all that shit. Do you guys realize that you are like the handful of people in this country that can literally fix this problem tomorrow if you wanted? And you're literally gaslighting the shit out of everybody online, going,
Yeah.
oh, gun violence, thoughts and prayers. Here, I'm going to put some orange on.
Yep.
Go fuck yourself. Fix the problem.
Absolutely. Well, I just did a TikTok on that. I mean, I do political comedy, but my political comedy was asking an 8 ball, will our politicians ever do anything about gun violence in America? Outlook, not so good.
Nope.
And, the sad part about it is that, I ended my TikTok with, I'm going to keep putting pressure, contacting my Congress members and vote. These are the things that we can do, right?
Yep.
But will it change? I do not know. And I am so tired of this. And there is a pervasive just sickness in America. It feels like we consume this material. We get into these heated arguments about all this, and then nothing happens. And then it's like they wait for us to just forget about it, right? They just wait for poof, it's gone until another like horrendous thing like a school happens. That's the one that really gets the attention of people, unfortunately.
Well, and the hospital one should too, because,
Yes.
and this is a video I did, in a time of war, when you're in another country, war situations and stuff, if you bomb a hospital, attack doctors, nurses trying to render aid to injured soldiers, that's a war crime. It's a fucking war crime. In the United States, it's a Wednesday.
Yeah. How we are not holding ourselves accountable for our own terrorist and war crimes. It's
that's the kicker right there, is we are refusing to hold our own to the same standards as we hold other terrorists.
You're the one that said that to me when we were talking on the phone. You were like, if we didn't say that, but you said if another country had, someone went and shot up a hospital, people would be deployed there to go and serve and help out against these war crimes. That's what it is. That's how that works.
Here, I mean, again, I think people think we're exaggerating, but go look at some of the reasons that we've come up with in the past to go into countries. Like, there's definitely been a few conflicts where we've gone in for pretty similar shit. So, like I said, there are arguments being made that there are human rights violations happening in the United States right now.
Yep.
And we have been deployed to countries over human rights violations. So once again, if you think I'm over exaggerating,
you're not.
nope.
And another thing is, someone just put it in my comments, the GOP, guns over people. Ken put it in there. That's trending everywhere. The GOP is now guns over people, and it couldn't be more true. It couldn't be more true. I've dove into, where these people are getting their money this week, and, it's not just the NRA. And I want people to remember that too. There are so many, gun supporting groups that are out there, manufacturers. I mean, it extends on so much more than the NRA, and their hands are in politics. Robert Wright said it this week. We cannot have politics unless we fix the situation with our lobbyist issue. Yeah. Nothing is going to get solved. I joked about it last week with you. Remember, I was like, maybe we should just start a GoFundMe so we can pay our politicians to actually be in our fucking pockets.
Yep.
I mean, it might be the only goddamn solution we have at this point.
Pull our money together and buy them off ourselves.
I recommend we just stop paying taxes, and because they're obviously not doing. I think what are the statistics? It's like right now, it's like 90% of Americans want comprehensive gun legislation, and 80% are wanting Roe v. Wade to stay intact.
Yep.
And yet here we are. They're not fighting for us. They're fighting for special interest groups, churches. They're anyone that's got a hand in their pocket. And
that right there is the nail we need to drive home, Max. Is it's not about the people anymore. It's about the people that are in their pockets. And that's
Money,
what
money, money.
yeah, and that's what we need to change. You know, like
Absolutely.
people keep misconstruing what I say, like post online, because it, you know, I only have that long to post something on like an idea online, so give me a break. But and
You only get so many characters.
and not everybody reads 3 threads down for the point. So
Sure.
it's just I've been advocating a lot for a change to our political system. It doesn't necessarily mean that doesn't mean I'm going to go vote Republican. It
Yeah.
just means that I'm also tired of our side as well. I'm tired of the entire system. I feel like a hypocrite when I sit there and I chastise Republicans and then turn around and turn a blind eye to Democrats doing the same shit.
Oh yeah.
So for me, you know, I can look at my own party and liberals and say, you guys are fucking up and we need to fix this, and still vote blue. Still vote Democrat, because I understand that the system is a two-party system right now. But the only way that we're going to fix that and move it forward is to start having this conversation of, yes, I understand how the system works right now.
Yeah.
I understand how the election is going to work in 2022 and probably 2024. But we need more people to start focusing on 10 years down the road, and how are we going to start fixing this two-party broken system? And that doesn't mean that I'm advocating for people not to vote. What I'm advocating for is the people that aren't showing up to vote, they're not showing up to vote because they don't feel represented, or they don't agree with the Democrats or the Republicans. So guess what would be awesome? Ranked choice voting. You know what else would be outstanding? Would be if we had more than 2 viable parties.
You know, the need for a viable third party, I think, is one of the cornerstones of what is lacking in this country.
Yes.
But it has been designed in such a way for us that it almost makes it impossible, because at this point they have pitted us so much against each other, and then the apathy of people that don't go out and vote, it becomes a vote for the wrong side if you vote for third party at this point, and that shouldn't be the case. It should be.
I hate it.
I hate it too. I think we're all incredibly frustrated and feeling, I don't know, hopeless, that nothing's going to change. And that, you know, and honestly, we're about to get into freaking midterms. We're already like in the kind of, you know, some primaries are happening, but like, God, you know,
Dr. Oz, really?
I know.
Really? He doesn't even fucking live there. How about he go run in New Jersey?
Honestly, I can't with him. Have you seen some of his videos?
Oh yeah, it's a joke. I mean, he is a joke. I keep waiting for Oprah to come out and start campaigning against him.
I hope that would be amazing. That would be amazing. She should.
It's not going to happen, but it would be funny.
She's too busy, just, you know, staying neutral and being in her spot.
She's responsible for him in most ways. So
incredibly, yes, she is.
You know, so
she made him.
In some ways, thank you, Oprah. Now we have to deal with this prick.
I'm honestly
still love you though, Oprah.
He's just a piece of work, and you know, there's so many people that have gone so far into the crazy town. Yeah, and he's just one of them. And I don't know if they are actually that crazy, or are they just pandering to the crazy.
Most of them, they're ones that are actually that crazy. We know the like 10, 20 of them that are that crazy.
Yeah.
But honestly, majority of them, I really do 100% believe this. I think a majority of them behind closed doors, they don't even believe half the shit they vote for.
Oh, for sure.
But what they do is they sit behind closed doors, they grab that sheet of paper and they go through the pros and cons of, am I going to lose votes? Am I going to lose constituents? Is it going to cost me my seat? Is it going to cost me lobbyist money? Is it going to cost? That's how they vote. They don't vote and go, what's best for my district and the people who voted for me? They go, what can I fucking do to gaslight people and win the most amount of votes possible as quickly as possible with the least amount of characters possible?
Yep.
Yes.
Well, you know what? Someone in my comments just, brought up the whole point of gerrymandering and redistricting. And we've talked about this many times on our show,
over and over.
Especially in places like Texas. You know, Texas would be going blue, baby. But they have done some very nefarious gerrymandering and voter restriction stuff in these certain areas. And, you know, it's so insane that during this time that's how that they spend their time on plotting and scheming
Yeah.
to, get what they want, their bottom line. And it's just deplorable at this point. And someone like Bernie Sanders talks about trying to put these things in so these things can't happen. Nobody votes for it. Nobody goes for it. And we're just going more and more down this rabbit hole. And, you stop people from being able to vote the way they want to vote. Democracy's dead, and it doesn't seem to be bothering anybody.
Well,
in politics, they're happy.
it's not bothering the people that are doing it, but it's bothering everybody else.
Yeah.
That's the thing I need people to understand. Like, okay, I just want to talk about this real quick. So I'm driving around Tucson here the last couple days, and since everybody's on the ballot now, they can start putting up their signs for the primaries.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that there are pretty much no Democrat signs anywhere, none. It's all Republicans, and it's a good amount too. Like, it's not just one or two. I think Morgan Abraham, I think he's one of the only signs I've seen around my district, and he's running for Senate, by the way. So if you're in Arizona, Morgan Abraham. But outside of him, I'm not really seeing any. And I started thinking, I'm like, why? One of the reasons is because Republicans, they stick together, they're organized, and they all have the money. You want to know why they have the money? Because they're all cheating. They're all cheating, and they help each other. They scratch each other's backs. Then they funnel all that money together through the Republican Party, the NRA, and all these other places, and they buy all these politicians that are going to do exactly what they want them to do.
Yep.
That's how the system works. So all this money is getting, all that money from the people that are lying, cheating, and stealing is getting funneled into Republican candidates, and then they get to go buy all the stuff. And this stuff costs a shit ton of money. And I'm gonna
the rallies that they do.
Don't let me lose this point. So the point is that all these signs that are coming up is because the Republican Party, they go to the cheapest fucking printer that they can find, that they're going to get the most out of every cent. Do you want to know what Democrats have to do? And I'm telling you, it's not a choice. If you want to get into the Democratic Party and run as a candidate, everything you purchase, shirts, signs, stickers, everything better be done through a union printer. And guess what? Do you want to know what happens when you go through a union printer? It costs you 3 times as much money to print one shirt, one sign, anything. So they get 3-4 signs for every one sign we get because we're providing good jobs. So don't forget that when you see all these fucking Republicans out there with all that merch, because guess what? They ain't buying that merch from union shops. They're buying that merch from the cheapest fucking place possible, while Democrats are forced to buy union. So don't forget that.
That's fact right there. I remember when you were running, that was a huge point of contention for you, that it was like just to go get business cards one day, you were like,
it was $1,000. It was $1,000. And I laughed at them. I'm like, are you kidding? I'm like, no, not for business cards.
Insane.
And I started looking at how much I'm like, you guys this is why we lose. Like, it's because they you have to provide good jobs while you're running.
Yeah.
Like, seriously? How about you let us win the fucking race in any means necessary, and then when we get the job, we actually pass meaningful legislation for good jobs and union jobs. Well,
that's the thing.
Instead of forcing us to put money into the union jobs because you can't get the fucking job done and actually get meaningful legislation passed for unions. So you force all the campaigns to raise all the money and then put all the money into the union shops so that they can actually pay their bills for the year. That's how it fucking works. It's a business. It's not about Democrats and liberals winning elections. If it was, it would be, how do we get our message out there and get it on every fucking street corner? The cheapest way with the most amount possible. And then when I win, then I'll make sure that the union jobs are protected. I'll let every fucking business unionize. I'll help Amazon unionize everywhere. We have to win the elections first, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. And right now, they have been spending so much time cheating, lying, scheming, instead of doing any kind of legislation on the Republican side, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And one thing that really fucking gets me, and it makes me so angry, is that despite, the many, many, many fucking problems that we have in this country, the Republicans would rather stick it to Joe Biden and try to prove the Democrats wrong and, show face instead of doing anything positive. And that's what I think. I wish the Republicans could see and understand how much they are uncooperative, how much they are doing everything they can to make things worse.
And
So
they
it looks
frame it
bad
as
for
winning.
Joe. So it looks bad for Joe Biden, because in the Republicans' mind, they're sitting there like, oh well, it wasn't this bad under President Trump. It wasn't this bad. Gas prices, this baby formula shenanigans, and mental health problems. But the thing is, it's like the devil's in the details. They cut all those programs. They don't vote for anything positive,
Yep.
and they're keeping the Democrats in this, like, looking like they're a do nothing party when they try and nothing can get accomplished because no bipartisanship is happening.
Yeah.
We're just stuck in the mud, man. Just
There's
stuck
people,
in the mud.
There's people on my side saying the Dems did the same stuff to Trump. Look, that's not even a comparison. And I'm going to ask you this. How many people under Donald Trump and other Republican presidencies have been indicted, charged with crimes? Now, let me ask you, how many people under Obama and Biden have been charged with crimes and all that other stuff? I'll wait.
And there's a lot going down right now.
There's stupid talking points. And again, we're pointing out facts. Republicans just voted against helping with the formula shortage. Every single Republican voted against it. Fact. Yep. Every Republican voted against helping with price gouging for gas companies. And fact. Pretty much every gas company that just reported their profits for the quarter reported record-breaking profits. So guess where those came from? It didn't come from Joe Biden. It came from the companies screwing everybody in the world. And that's the other thing in my final point. Everything you guys are blaming Joe Biden for, the world is dealing with. The world is dealing with high gas prices. The world is dealing with inflation. Like, holy shit, are you guys that stupid? Please pick up something besides Fox News and go out and see what's happening in the rest of the world. It's actually pretty big. It's vast. There's lots of countries, lots of languages. I know it might hurt your feelings a little bit, but if you go out there and look, you might find out that, holy shit, we aren't the only fucking people on this planet, and we aren't the only people dealing with this, and that global economic, global economics is a thing. It's not just our country. Now, I will say that it's sad that so many countries are so dependent on us because we have our shit so fucked up, but that's the way it is. So here we are.
Well, speaking of other countries, I mean, can we talk about the fact that, we joked about, I was talking about what I saw on The Daily Show this week, how America is now the fucking scared straight program for the rest of the world. If you haven't seen that clip on The Daily Show, go watch Trevor Noah. He's like,
that wasn't real.
It's true, because right after all this shit's happening, Canada's like, well, you know what? You're scaring the crap out of us. We're going to go and, take away our guns and, do good for our country because we're watching what's happening in America. That's what countries need to be doing, caring for their people and doing what's right. We are just a cautionary tale over here at this point. How not to democracy, how not to capitalism. And, we're blowing it, man. We are fucking blowing it.
Oh, that I totally agree with. I just really feel like we could be doing so much better, and you look where we spend our money too. Look at our deficit and where all our money goes. Imagine if we curtailed our military just a little bit. I'm not saying, gut it, but if we just curtailed it, because I'm telling you guys again, speaking from experience, the fraud, waste, and abuse throughout the entire federal government is ridiculous. If we got it under control, I'm telling you, we could pay for some pretty big shit. Not a joke. I'm telling you, the job, I got paid $75,000 to sit in a cubicle and do nothing. Nothing for a year and a half. It drove me fucking insane. I went from working on planes to sitting in an office, and it drove me insane. Why am I cashing my check? What am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm doing an hour worth of work a day, and I'm sitting here for 8.5 hours. Drove me nuts. But it was a contract job, and all it was about was filling the seat so that the contractor could get the money, and they got more money from me because I was a disabled vet. That's how the system works, y'all.
Well, I mean, I've been watching a lot of things lately about the fraud that's taken place over the last few years in this country, especially by wealthy people too.
Oh, yeah.
especially taking advantage of COVID relief.
Oh,
Have
we've
you?
seen how they. We've seen why. Sorry, we've seen why they're so rich because we've
Oh
seen what they
my
do.
God. The corruption, and how people get so much, like, subsidies from the government. We waste so much money, and we get and yet people are complaining about giving people food stamps. That's Peasley compared to what other people are, grifting from our government. I mean, it's insane.
Sorry about the dogs.
It's okay. That's why I send my kids away, Ryan. I told you it would be like that, but it would
See,
be
it's
like
not the kids
screaming.
though. The kids are fine.
My
You,
kids are like,
by,
they're
by
like
the way,
animals.
anybody who has been watching me for the last 2 years, I need you to understand. My kids have been home every show. They have been in their rooms every single one of my shows.
You are
So,
blessed.
so go see if you can hear them. Go see if you can hear them in any of my shows now.
If my kids were here, you would not be able to hear me. I will tell you that. It would be screams, and someone would be coming in. The 4-year-old, I keep forgetting she just had a birthday. She would come in and start going in the camera.
Yep.
Ooh.
I mean, they've come in now. Like people have been on my lives where they'll come in and peek around, or they've come in. I think at the end of the show and peeked around a couple times, but they're usually just really good during the show, which is yeah, I'm very blessed and lucky that they let me do my stuff.
So I want to kind of pivot to a
Yeah,
different.
pivot away.
Um, you know, Especially with everything going on in the world and everything going on politically, emotionally in this world. How are you dealing with your mental health these days?
Oh,
And I think that is something that is very important for people to talk about and to express, because I know a lot of people are feeling probably the same way everybody's feeling, a little hopeless. There's a lot of sad in the world right now. Things feel heavy, right?
yeah.
And when that happens, as a collective society, how do we start, you know, I think talking about mental health in particular and opening up about it, I think is an important thing. But what are some things that you're doing to help with this time for yourself?
I wasn't really ready for that question.
Then you don't have
No,
to
no, no,
answer
no,
it.
no, no. It's a great
Okay.
question. No, it's a great question. Um, I, this the first thing's really kind of funny. It's something that I've done to kind of cope, and it's helped me in ways that I just never anticipated. Um, a friend of mine, a friend of ours actually, got me into a Twitter group, and in this group is just a bunch of people who think that very similar to us, but post very different styles and all sorts of stuff. And but the conversations that we have in there, and even just the joking around and the inside jokes, especially the last week or two with all the shootings
Yeah.
and everything, it's just been like a little support group for me, and I found a lot of comfort in there, being able to just kind of go in there when all of Twitter is like feels whatever, and you go in there and you have this
Yeah.
group of people that are like, nope, we all feel the same way. We're going
Yeah.
hell in a handbasket here. It's helped me. And the other thing is, if you've never tried it, and this is one of my first times ever talking about it publicly, I've been doing listening to ASMR, and it's gotten pretty big on TikTok, but yeah, it's really weird how that works for me.
Oh,
It
yeah.
really helps me when I get really spun up, like being on Twitter all day and you're like, dealing with trolls. I turn it on. There's this woman in Brazil who she barely speaks English, but I watch her fucking every night because she's just perfect at it for me. But
Yeah.
it you you have to find whatever works for you. And like I told you about being able to unplug, the ASMR for me is it's a good way for me to unplug from the political, but not actually unplugging from my phone. If
Yeah.
that, as weird as that sounds, because a lot of people have a hard time putting the phone down. So I think that's one of the reasons that ASMR is so popular, because
Yeah.
for people that have a problem putting the phone down, there's still that interaction. You're still commenting, you're still interacting with the person doing, the ASMR,
Yeah.
stuff, but at the same time, it's relaxing you. It's allowing you to unplug
That's
from the
cool.
day. Just something that works for me, and somebody turned me onto it, so maybe I'll turn somebody else onto it. But it's in terms of mental health. For me, I'm medicated. I'm pretty honest about it, being bipolar. So just being very, what's the word I'm looking for? Dedicated to my regimen in terms of making sure that I always take my meds and stay on top of that.
Yeah.
But the shootings have been tough. The shootings have been really tough for me.
Yeah.
They've been tough for Jen. Like I said, when you're like my wife and you've deployed, as often as she did, even in the Air Force, we still end up doing nasty shit in the Air Force.
Yeah.
And she has some stories, and it's just when shootings start happening and it starts feeling like a war zone every day. My wife, like her PTSD, gets to the point where she doesn't want to go out.
Right.
Like we stay in the house, and when you have that level of anxiety, just going out the door, your mental health, it definitely hits your mental health.
For sure.
So, in our house, it's been a little bit of an emotional juggle the last week or two, because again, if you're talking about shootings and things like that, if you've been following me for a while or you've been following Maggie and I for a while, my kids are black, my wife's black. So it's like I'm not raising white kids. I'm raising kids of color in this crazy time. And so we just have all this anxiety that's constantly there for us personally as a
Yeah.
family. And I know every family's having their own anxiety in own way. I'm just using my own experience. But yeah, it's just been having to find those little things like the ASMR, the group that I'm in on Twitter, and even doing these with you. We talked about it on the phone.
Yeah.
Even though I don't go out much, I still feel like I have all these friends
Oh,
because
for sure. It's so true, Ryan, when you brought that up. It's not like we get to go out and do like a lot of things,
yeah,
like we used to and we were talking about being a mixture between introverts and extroverts, right?
yeah, yep,
It's so much fun to go out and be somewhere, but then after that you feel drained and you need time to be in yourself. I think after the last few years, I identify with that 100%,
yeah.
you know.
That I didn't realize until probably COVID that I had that social battery. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that I shut down, and the only reason I really realized it was because I realized that I wasn't having to shut down. Like I wasn't having to shut down after a massive, engagement with the public in some way, whether it's a basketball game
Sure.
or a board meeting or whatever,
Hence
or
us all coming on TikTok to be extremely extroverted during COVID times.
exactly, but it's just, yeah, I never realized I had that battery that needed to be charged. I never realized that I needed to turn the ignition off, after those social engagements. And the only reason I really figured it out that I was that person, because like I told Maggie, I actually like being around people. Like I like being around people. I like joking. I like having fun. But I'm that person that a lot of people talk about that once that battery level gets down to the red, I'm done.
Yeah.
I want to go home. I want to and leave me alone for a good day or two. I've had my fill of people.
I'm also just really used to being in like sweatpants. Like, oh,
That too. Yep. I mean, if we're being honest. I mean,
why you got to take the comfort away? I have to go to a birthday party this evening.
well,
I'm
for
like,
women, it's
I'm
like
wearing,
bras. You guys have to put bras on so
I got a
long.
bra on. I'm wearing
Yeah.
jeans. I'm like, what? This is just unacceptable. I should be.
Bullshit.
I like my sweats.
You
I like
women
my.
really do get the shaft.
We
Like,
do, man.
you don't
Kind of
realize
dress
it
up,
when you're
put,
single and when
putting
you're
fucking
young.
heels on. Let me tell you, after this whole, my first time putting
Heels,
heels,
bras,
I went to San Francisco and I like dressed to the nine, wore my cute boots and like my like tall boots, and I was like 30 minutes in, I was like, why the fuck did I wear this? Where are my stretchy pants? I don't want to be here. I am not happy anymore. I can't. Why?
You went from hot bitch to pissed off real quick.
Real quick. And nothing will make a woman feel more pissed off than just being uncomfortable in her clothes. Your wife will attest. If you're
Oh,
not feeling it, you're like,
the under boob sweat is real.
absolutely.
I have an appreciation
I
for
got
that
big old
now that
tatas. I know all about that.
yeah, I have an appreciation for that. I did not have, like I said, when we're younger, when we're single, men aren't, we get to see the finished product. We get to see you when you're just dressed to the nines or you're all put together. But when you get married or you start living with a woman and you start seeing the realities, it's like, holy shit. Like, you did that for me? You spent 4 hours getting ready for to come out with me? Holy shit. Like you said, my wife is in comfort zone in her sweatpants and a t-shirt, and but that doesn't mean she can't get done up. It's just,
well, we all, we have a time and a place for getting done up.
exactly.
I will just tell you now. I mean, I used to do it more frequently, obviously. Now it's like, a big part of what I do for my mental health these days is being comfortable, being like comfy, and being cozy. That's one of my favorite things about,
Yeah, man.
that I do for my mental health. I do a lot of like spa kind of stuff for myself, for my mental health, but it's usually revolving around things that make me comfortable.
You and
And
Chris go out a lot more than like we do, though.
we
You
do.
guys-
We, I
you
mean,
guys
we
at
make
least
sure
out
we
to
go out.
dinner and stuff, and like we don't even really like doing that.
It's felt like a while though, because we haven't been out since COVID really.
Yeah.
And we've only done like, now that we're testing negative, that was hard because we were starting to get used to and go on vacations and do stuff. And then that happened
Oh.
again. It actually kind of triggered me a little bit when we got COVID. And, I felt that kind of PTSD from the beginning of COVID, being back in seclusion in the house,
You're like,
can't
no,
go
we're not
anywhere.
doing this again.
Well, and
We're
that's the
not
thing.
doing
I
this
mean,
again.
I require a certain amount of like stimulation. Like I love, I mean, for me, it's comedy, connecting with people, laughing. That's
I get
my
the
bread and
impression
butter.
I get the impression your brain doesn't shut down.
No. And you know what? When I dream, I just dream all night long, and it's about things. I usually will wake up in the night because I've had a dream idea.
Yeah.
I'm always, my brain doesn't really stop
Do you
ever.
write it down?
Hell yeah. Oh my God. You
One of
should
my-
see my notebooks.
One of
You
my
should see, I have
favorite
journals, I have
things,
notebooks, very vast.
Quincy Jones. I was watching a documentary on Quincy Jones, who I just love his story. And he talked about having a notebook by the side of his table, and he said because God might come and miss me and give it to somebody. He had a record producer down the road. He might give it to so and so down the road.
Yeah.
He's like, so I'm there to write it down if God brings it. And I just really like that because it was this really cool way of saying like, hey man, you never know when that idea is going to hit
Truth.
you, and it's going to hit you in the middle of the night. And you're going to be mad if you don't write it down because you're going to wake up at 9 in the morning and go, what was that idea?
See, I mean, I will tell you, I actually, one of my favorite things about myself is my brain. And I actually really do love the way, and I don't think it's, narcissistic for anything to say that, but I love the way I think. I do. I know I think outside the box, and I am constantly dreaming and thinking of ideas. And I love that. It makes me feel fulfilled. It's actually a part of myself that I put away for a long time, especially when I was just doing speech therapy and, not really living into my creative self. And I've always been, I'm sorry, I have to use my passcode to get up here. Boop, 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 boop. Do you have time limits on your TikTok?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I need to fix that because it like,
You're back.
okay. Sorry. It goes, you've been on too long. Maybe I set them at some point to like monitor my own behavior.
Must be a setting or something. Yeah, right. You've been on too long. Do you have screen time on your phone?
I do. Yeah. I set that because I'm trying to be better about the amount of time I spend on social media. But like I said, I mean, it's been an outlet, but what can we say?
I'm in a really weird, my Twitter's taking off again. So I'm putting a lot of time into my Twitter. But my TikTok has been, so I did a duet with somebody the other day, and it got taken down because their video got taken down, and now my videos are all throttled down again. So anytime that happens, I just stop making videos because it's like I'm not wasting my time. I'll go put my time into Twitter somewhere else and whatever.
Weird.
It is what it is. But I was just like, it was a duet of me sitting there silently, just making my facial expressions like I do. And they took it down because the original video got taken down. It's like, okay, that's fine, but don't give me a violation because their video got taken down. That's kind of messed up.
I got a violation the other day, and it was for nothing. And then it put my account on a warning. And I was like, oh.
Oh my
I was
God,
like,
Tones is
I
in
was
here.
like, that's shitty. Hi, Tones. I was like, that's really shitty. I was like,
Yeah.
but this was the first time and then I emailed TikTok and I got a response pretty right away. They took everything off. They restored it all back. It was the first time I actually really felt listened to by TikTok. And the whole thing was a ridiculous violation in general, so it had nowhere to stick. But I was like, this has never happened to me. Like usually you get dead silence,
Like
right?
I
You
won the
get
lotto.
you get nothing from them. So I was like, I'll take it. I won't ask any questions. Just step away.
Step away from the computer. Okay. So what's the last thing you want to talk about?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I
I'm
don't
going
know.
through my Twitter right now actually to see what. Oh, we could talk about. You want to talk about my debacle?
Yes.
Oh fuck. So, holy crap!
Oh,
Did I
I'm a little shiny.
still look great?
Thank you.
So I stepped in. I stepped in a beehive this week.
What?
Not literally.
Oh,
On
I was
Twitter.
about to say, I'm allergic to bees. I would be dead. Okay.
Yeah, no, but I do have a beehive. That reminds me, I got a beehive I got to take care of by the pool. Um, so there was a black woman that was shot 5 times by police. Her name was Liana Hale in where was it? I forget off the top of my head where it was exactly. Kansas City, Missouri. And I posted it because I had read the article, saw the video of the police. There was an eyewitness account, so I felt comfortable posting it.
Yeah.
Made my comment basically, here they go shooting an unarmed black woman, but they can't go into a school with 19 kids being murdered. Something along those lines.
Sure. Yeah.
And it went viral, ended up being used in articles and shit. And I think it was the next day, it was either the next day or the day after, they apparently released footage, even though the photo, there's a lot of controversy around the photo. But anyway, the police department comes out, released something saying that she had a gun in her hand, but showed her running away with the gun in her hand pointed behind her. And a cop, anyway. So basically, I posted an update. I said, update, she actually, turns out she had a gun. And I posted the updated article from a different news source.
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, I'm being responsible. Okay?
Yeah.
Turns out she had a gun. Originally, it was reported she wasn't. There was an eyewitness that she didn't. I was just going off of that. Updated the article. Holy shit, did the bootlickers not like that? They literally, on my Twitter, I literally have articles they wrote. The whole fucking article is about how I'm a piece of shit. And
a lot of neener.
well, I mean,
Worse.
well,
Oh, who hasn't made a mistake online about reporting
here's the
something
thing.
or
I didn't
saying
even make
something?
a mistake. Like
You just
I went off of I had sources. Luckily, I
Yeah.
posted them because I think that was one of the only things that saved me with a lot of people because they were like, dude, he at least updated it.
And that's what I mean too.
Where it came from. It's not like I didn't create this out of thin fucking air.
Oh, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying the news is
right.
The news is so fast moving that
Yeah.
people are so quick to get a story out and then you get the information. It may not be the full story, but you're reporting what you have at the time in that moment, right?
Yep.
Been there.
And on top of it, it's not like this is unbelievable. But so anyway, so they write this article, this big, MMA fighter, whatever, dude does a tweet that goes off about me, sends all the bootlickers coming after me out the last few days.
Oh boy.
So, but here's the point I want to make about this. So while I updated it, and it turns out there was a gun on the scene, whatever, this black woman was still shot 5 times in the back, running away from the police, basically.
Yeah.
And you had 20 plus cops standing outside of a school that wouldn't go in there to protect kids. So the point still remains that they're really fucking fast to shoot people that look like my wife and kids, but leave other people. And how many white people with AR-15s have been apprehended without a scratch?
Yeah.
But you can't handle a black woman running away from you with a handgun?
Exactly.
So my point still was valid, but you guys want to, they wanted to focus on the one wrong thing because they were pissed off that once again a black woman got shot 5 times by the police, and there was so many cops there that once again you had no other option but to shoot this woman.
People love to pick and choose the parts of a story that they love to focus on, right? But whereas the general thesis of, most of the things are exposing a universal truth of racism, exposing police brutality, exposing something bigger than just the little things. You know what I mean? But the point is, somebody's running away and their back is turned. You shouldn't be shooting at them.
Yeah.
They're not putting you in immediate danger. I mean, these are the conversations that still always need to be have to happen.
And let's take a look at, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, so I feel comfortable saying this, but rules of engagement when you're in the military is you don't shoot unless you're fired upon. I think we need to instill that in our police force. Like, you can't just shoot somebody because they got a fucking gun. Like,
I agree.
At least let them shoot at you first. Like, get behind the car. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got vests on. Like,
oh yeah.
It's just, there's got to be better answers than just shooting. And again, I think I would feel a lot better about this. I wouldn't be so critical if it was across the board. Like, if you were this way with everybody, I'd be like, okay, they're just like that. They just.
I mean, we can't forget, like, things that have happened. Breonna Taylor.
Yep.
I mean.
And I would argue that they didn't really get held accountable for that, but
they absolutely didn't. I actually saw a meme the other day, and it was like, the best thing, or the only thing to take away from the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial is that Breonna Taylor's accusers shooters got away with it.
Yep.
It's just a little reminder about the things that are really the issues that need to be talked about in this country.
Now, I will say this one thing about that, because this one bothered me. While I 100%, I saw what you were talking about, and I loved the post. I think I actually shared it. Why I agree with all of that. Like, we were way too fixated on this Amber Heard, Johnny Depp thing with comparison to what we should be focused on. I can 100% agree with that. However, there's one point that I really think we need to focus on with this, and it is that men can be victims of abuse too. And so while we can sit here and argue about why it was so
and not all women are liars.
It's not all women are liars, absolutely. And that's not what I'm trying to say.
I know. I just have to say it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's fair.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying it. But, again, in this country, while yes, absolutely, we should take everybody that says I'm being abused seriously, too often it's thought that men can't be abused or, whatever. And I think the one thing that we should take from this, with all the attention that was given to it, is that yes, men can be abused. Was Johnny Depp a perfect guy? Was he toxic? Yes, he was still toxic in the marriage. But when somebody tries to go into a bathroom to get away from you, when somebody gets a second hotel room in case you guys fight, and more importantly, if you're being abused,
for sure.
Usually the abuser is the one that files for a divorce, and usually the abuser, once they get the divorce, they're gone. They're just happy to be gone. So if you're making all your own money, Amber Heard, why were you the one that you didn't file for divorce?
Yeah.
And you're the one that fought it, and you milked Johnny Depp for money.
See, so, for me, I felt
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I do. I hear you, and I actually, the whole thing makes me kind of ill thinking about it, because knowing that, sexual assault is a serious thing, and it is a serious issue, and a lot of it happens to women, and for this to, be such a prevalent case in our society, and the way that people have consumed it, laughed on it, made fun of, used it to it's actually been very grotesque to me, watching people just really get their kicks off of, these two people's business that really is not the poster for sexual assault. It is the poster for a dysfunctional relationship, and we really shouldn't have had our looks into it. We shouldn't have been.
It was toxic as hell.
Toxic as fuck. And honestly, the fact that it's over, I am elated, because I like Johnny Depp, and I absolutely think that he should, hope he gets his career back. I definitely think she was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and made up lies, from what I know. but I also the people just making the TikToks. My wife stepped on a bee. There was just so much.
I think
There
I
are
did
way
make fun
bigger
of her
issues. I
crying
think
on the
that's
stand
what.
one day, or her fake crying on the stand. I do think I made fun of that one day.
Well, and that's fine. I'm just saying I'm
No, but
glad
you're
it's
right. No,
over
you're
because
right. You're
there's just
100% right.
bigger things out there that deserve our attention and deserve our focus
Yep.
and
No, you're right.
deserve that level of enthusiasm.
Mm.
Because guess what? I'm a comedian. Let me make fun of shit all day long. I will do it. That's what I love to do. But there's certain things that deserve that attention. And, we made such a huge deal out of these people. And I'm just so fucking glad it's over.
Me too. But I think the
Bye.
last thing I'll say that really
Yeah.
stuck out to me, I mean, a lot of things really stuck out, but this one thing for some reason did. When they were talking to his accountant and they were talking about his monthly and yearly expenses, and they were talking about his wine, that his drug intake went down considerably after he divorced this woman. So,
That tracks. Fair enough.
like
Fair enough.
when you're numbing yourself
Yeah.
from all that, and you're able to better yourself when the toxic relationship and person is gone, that just speaks a lot to how toxic it
Well, a
really
Disney executive came out and said, well, you can hold your breath that he might be in the next Pirates of the Caribbean.
I doubt it.
So, well, no, that he came out and said that you can,
Well, no,
they
I
might.
know, but Johnny Depp has pretty much said fuck Disney.
Oh, I'm sure. But you know what? You never know.
I mean,
You never know. Money
I'm sure
talks. Money talks.
if they walked up to him and said, "Hey, Johnny, so we got $100 million for you. How about one more movie?"
And they probably would, and they could.
If they were smart, they would, because
I think so too.
If you bring Johnny Depp back as Jack Sparrow, even for one more movie, it would probably be the highest grossing Pirates of the Caribbean
that's
been done.
But I would just say this one thing about Amber Heard. Especially talking. Well, I hope so too, and I feel like what she has done what she has done against the Me Too movement, it's irreparable damage. I mean, this is, this is giving people that. Well, there are the Amber Heards of the world, but there are also women that do need to be believed, and I think let's all just go forward and remember that. She is the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
So remember that. Exception, not rule. She's that kind of woman that, makes other women that are facing these issues not be believed. So just remember that as we go forward. And
I think that's a good place for us to end it.
I agree.
So
I got to go to a play place right now for a birthday party.
Hey, man.
Jump house.
Yeah, I'm going to the pool.
Ooh, best.
But with that being said, I think I'm just going to echo that before we sign off and say, I think that is an important distinction for us to make, is that Amber Heard is not the norm. She is definitely, the exception to the norm. So, absolutely, I agree with what Maggie just said and co-sign that 100%. We can all talk about this specific case and what this specific case meant for, potential men being abused and all that stuff. But yes, we absolutely have to remember that this is one person that has done this, and we need.
Well, and like I said, I echo what you started out saying. Men can be abused too. That's the thing. Sexual assault can happen to anybody. Assault can happen to anybody. Yes. These are things that can happen to anybody. And, you just hope that after that happens, people seek the help that they need and find the voice that they need. And that something like this situation doesn't hinder people. Yeah. So,
Yep. And with that being said, Maggie, as always, I love you. Thanks for coming
I love you too. Always so good, Ryan.
I just, guys, remember it's primary season, so find your candidates that you want to support. If you've got a few bucks, donate it to them. If you can volunteer, do phone banks, do whatever. It's that time of year, it's that time of season. So let's stay focused, because if we want to fix gun violence, it's not just about sitting on here and talking. It's about showing up, voting, and advocating. And
yes, and keep calling your Congress members, writing them.
Write them.
Every
Tell them
day.
how pissed off we are. Tell them what we expect of them. Remind them that they work for us. And with that, I will leave you with much love. Keep fighting, and we'll see you guys next week.
And just keep swimming. See you guys later. Bye.